Hi, everybody. Karen Curry Parker here. Welcome to the Understanding Human Design podcast. And I'm so excited to have a special guest today, Karen Flaherty, who's going to be talking to us a little bit about generators and what it means to be a generator, and giving us sort of a sneak peek to her Q&A session that she's going to be doing about generators at this year's upcoming International Human Design Conference. Karen Flaherty is the best-selling author of the book, Getting to Know You, Embrace Your Unique Blueprint to Make Decisions You Love and Trust, a Human Design Guidebook. It's available on Amazon, Kindle, paperback, and audiobook. She brings with her, and this is the part that I love so much about talking about Karen, is she brings sort of to our conversation about human design a very practical, grounded background in corporate business, in addition, of course, to her life experience in her human design coaching practice. She's a graduate of the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia. She's worked in New York and New Jersey in marketing, training, and sales positions for more than 35 years. And with her combination of experiences, she's ignited a desire to help others in their challenges, especially with regards to self-awareness, relationships at work, at home, and stress management. She's been teaching and sharing human design for, and this kind of blows my mind, Karen, because you and I have known each other for a long time. It's like 10 years now, going on 11 years. So it's just, I'm so excited to watch you continue to share all your wisdom and knowledge of human design. And as I said, you know, that grounded, unique perspective that you bring that's so fun. So welcome.
Thanks, Karen. So great to be here.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk to you today about generators, and we've been exploring in the last couple of episodes some bigger questions and even also simpler questions about what does it mean to be the different types. So one of the questions I've been asking everyone is, in your opinion, in your experience, because you're a generator, a pure generator, what has been the biggest gift that you've gotten from understanding your own personal human design type?
That's a great question. I would say that the biggest thing for me, because I have a defined head in Ajna, and because I always, because I was really fortunate to have great teachers and parents who really thought the world of education because they didn't have it. I had a great education. Even though we didn't have a lot of money, I was able to get scholarship after scholarship after scholarship to all these great schools and was trained to use my head, right? I mean, that's what it's all about. I was trained literally to use my head for the first 40, almost 50 years of my life, right? And then in the 40s, I really started feeling like, maybe there's something else to this. Maybe I shouldn't be using my head all the time. And sometimes I realized just intuitively or, retrospectively that using my gut actually worked a lot better, right? And so, sometimes leaving that boyfriend or leaving that roommate or leaving that job really was better once I listened to my gut. I had a real awakening when I left my last in-house corporate job when I was about 45-ish, and literally I wrote the email. I just couldn't take it anymore. I hit send, because you could hit send and just send the email in those days and resign. And I was like, oh, that just felt so good. By Monday, I regretted it, right? Because my head was saying, what were you doing? This was so crazy. What are you doing? So I went in right away and I said to my boss, you know what? I really thought about it over the weekend and I really don't want to leave. And is that okay? And then he's like, sure, no problem. And literally it was, when was it? Just in 2000, just as the tech industry tanked. And we were in the tech industry. And so by April 30th, he said, you know what, Karen, that email you sent that said you'd resign April 30th, why don't we go ahead and do that? Wow. And I literally went home on the bus crying the whole way and saw a rainbow literally as I got to my house. And I was like, maybe I did do the right thing. Maybe hitting send was the right thing. So it started to ignite this kind of wanting to know, and I kept looking for things I was researching a lot. I was taking a lot of courses. I was, I kind of think of my corporate experience, Karen, as being like Forrest Gump, kind of like in the right place at the right time, but in the background, being this woman in corporate at the time when most women were not in corporate at that point. We were still being taught to be teachers and secretaries and things like that. and I was able to work my way up, but I never got to the corner office, and I always wondered why. And part of that story, but it was just funny. I started listening to my gut more, and then when I found human design, then I realized, oh, I really can listen to my gut. It really is going to lead me in the right direction. And so, long story short, it's now leading me in the right direction every day, and that's what makes it so unique and special, and something that I rely upon, and that's something all my clients rely upon, no matter what type they are. But everybody's relying on their own strategy, and that's what makes such a difference.
I love that story, and I love the transformation for you of moving out of listening to that head that you're so well trained to follow, and dropping into that more rich sort of primal intuitive sense. And I love that story in particular that you just shared, because it kind of shows, I think, the presentience that sometimes the sacral has. And when we follow that, there's a lot, I don't know how your experience is, but I would say that for me personally, following my sacral as a manifesting generator has often resulted in my head going, wait, what are we why are we doing, right? And having to
my
just
head's
go
going one way, my sacral's going the other.
right. It's like, shh, be quiet, head, it's okay. And then finding out later in hindsight, like, oh, that was such the right act to take, but there was no way my mind could have predicted what was coming next.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I think this is why it's so important to know about human design now, and why I'm really so excited about the Human Design Conference in September, because I think it's exactly the right timing. I was thinking about it this morning. Just think about it. It's just almost exactly 6 months after we all kind of, it kind of came into the consciousness that there's this pandemic going on. And the last Human Design Conference we did in November was just so prescient, right? I had the opportunity in April, since everything was so quiet, to listen to it entirely again, rewrote my entire story, and had the kind of the just like comfort in knowing that there's at least according to human design, a plan here, that there's it's all flowing, it's all coming out, a little difficult for a bunch of people, but the more I talk to my clients, Karen, the more I find that if we're in our values, if we're standing in our power, and if we're really feeling like we have the real good sense of that's our sense of control, right? Because none of us has control over what's happening in the outside world. And yet, if we have our values, we know which steps to take, right? Like, right. I know what to do. I feel comfortable in this because my business is solid, my where we are is solid, my relationship is solid, and that's just such a comfort in these days, And I think a lot of people are getting to that point and realizing that, well, what do we have? Do we need a second house? I was thinking about it this morning because there's an article in the Wall Street Journal about how many people have second houses now. And I was thinking, they're not getting a second house. It's not about the property, it's about the community, right? They're getting a new community, and they're able to move to a place that feels more comfortable for them, perhaps, more connected, more like them. And I think that's why people are moving out of the cities and looking for those communities. I think communities are going to be really big.
Yeah, no, totally. And I think, again, as you just said, learning to trust that inner awareness to take us to those places where we can be solid and I think grounded and rooted in not only our sort of the evolution of our past decisions that have led us to this point, but also with that awareness that you'll know what you need to know when you need to know it, which is I think the generator mantra. You'll know what you need to know when you need to know it, and it's a very big leap, I think, sometimes to trust the certain but yet uncertain possibility that the sacral presents to us.
Yeah. And just think about it, as sacral beings, my outside reality used to be networking events and going to holistic fairs and meeting people in town or going to some new event, and that's all gone. So now we're finding ways to do that in different ways, right? So that the sacral still has something to respond to that's getting us out of our comfort zone, but that is still feeling okay.
Totally. So when you are coaching generator types, what do you think is the biggest challenge that generator types have when they're first learning about their human design?
The biggest thing is the same thing I went through. It's just learning to listen to your gut and not your head. And what I find is that I just give them little exercises to try. We go through sacral sessions. We try to just answer the yes and no questions. Just see what you want for lunch. See what you want for dinner. See where what you want to do with the kids this weekend, and just try those different ideas out, and then try them little by little with your job, with your boss, with your significant other, however that plays out. But it's baby steps. It's always that's my mantra. It's always baby steps, whenever you're learning something new.
Absolutely.
But a lot of them know, like me, they had those inklings, that it worked, like that it worked in your 20s at different points, right? When you just walked away from something and said, I've had enough of this, right? Or in your 30s when you're like, I don't know if this marriage is working out so much, So there were gut reactions previously. It's just, we have to get back in touch with that.
So what's the most common question people ask you about human design?
I'm now getting a lot more about, at the beginning of the pandemic, I was getting a lot more of, should I be in this relationship or not? There were a lot of, unfortunately, people who, some people who have gotten a lot more solid in their relationships during this period. And then there are, unfortunately, people who needed to get out of their relationship. So it was like working with some clients who needed to get out, or who needed to make the space easier for them and their kids and things like that. So that was challenging. More so in March and April. Things have come down a little bit now. But the other big question I get is, because I work with a lot of women who are transitioning either from a career to a new entrepreneurial venture, or the kids have gone, now what can I do? Or, how can I increase my business? It used to be small, now I want to go online. What should I do with that? So those are the kinds of questions I get. And I really like to get very grounded and pragmatic with that, in terms of how can they really build their business and how can they make the changes they want to make, all in concert with their passion, right? Stuff that we wanted to do in our 20s is usually coming back around right about now.
Totally.
Right? So whether you wanted to fly a plane or do your artwork, or do whatever, be a speaker, whatever it was, you can do it now. And I just think there's a lot more opportunity for a lot of different ways of doing things than we even imagined just a year ago.
Totally. And I think, again, the power of trusting that as generator types, you don't have to figure it out. You just have to hold the intention and trust that as long as you stay sort of anchored in that passion, as you say, that without having to figure out the next step or anything like that, it does begin to magically unfold. And giving yourself permission to at least experiment with trusting that, I think, is huge. Because I think so many times, again, because we're so trained, I got to figure this out. I got to figure out how I'm going to activate my passion and start living it in my life. And you don't. You really don't. You just have to stay in the energy of it and see what unfolds.
Yeah.
So good. So I'm excited for you for our conference. You're going to be leading a little introduction to the generator types and a Q&A. It's going to be really interesting to talk to people with all range of experiences and get them turned on in their sacrals.
Great.
Do you have any?
I'm married to a generator. I thought I might also bring that point in too.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Right? The relationship.
Right.
My cross of laws who has a birthday this weekend.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, you'll be talking about generators and relationships, generators and passion, generators and transition, generators and learning to trust that sacral, right?
Yes.
Good. Any last minute thoughts or comments you want to share with us before we leave everybody to continue their exploration of their human design type?
Yeah, I just feel like it's a really, for the last 10, I am coming up on my 10th anniversary of my business, and 11 years that I've known about human design. That's already passed. But I think what I always, because I came from a marketing and sales background, Karen, I always felt like I needed to find exactly the right words to tell people about human design, and that it was always somewhat of a challenge, right? It's hard to talk about inner peace or kind of finding your passion in a short Facebook ad or something, right?
Right,
But
right.
I think what's happening now is that the need is there. And if the need is there, I go back to the Rolling Stones song, you may not get what you want, but you get what you need. And what people need right now is to feel really comfortable in themselves and to know their values and to feel like they're here for a reason and that they don't need to really look outside of themselves for much more than that, that they can be happy with themselves and answer the questions. Why can't I ever be happy? What's wrong with this relationship? What's all going on here? Get answers to all those questions. And then really life it's a lot more pleasant. It's a lot more fun. And it can be joyful too.
Yeah, totally, totally. Well, good. Well, thank you for joining me today, and I can't wait to see you at conference. And again, you guys pick up a copy of Karen's book, Getting to Know You. Embrace your unique blueprint to make decisions you love and trust, a human design guidebook. Again, you can get that on Amazon in all different formats. There you go.
Yes,
She's got it.
And people love the audio version. So that's been fun.
Oh, good. Awesome. That's fabulous. Put it in your car, drive around, learn more about who you are, and find the right direction in your life.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you, Karen, for joining us. Have a good
Thanks
one.
so much,
Bye-bye.
Karen. Have a great day.
You too.